Today, we are diving deep into a story that is, well, it's just an explosive convergence of high politics, a devastating personal tragedy, and the fight for federal research dollars.
Right. We're looking at an extraordinary situation within one of America's most, famous political families.
We're unpacking the public essay by Tatiana Schlossberg, who is JFK's granddaughter.
And in this essay, she reveals her terminal cancer diagnosis and, with what are basically her last public words, delivers this direct and pointed political indictment of her own cousin, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary.
Yeah, this goes way beyond just family drama. This is dynastic conflict.
And the stakes are literally life and death.
All defined by a very specific policy argument over funding for scientific research.
Exactly.
So our mission here is to really analyze the sources that reveal the brutal facts of her illness, the rarity of her diagnosis, and what her public criticism is actually based on.
Specifically, this claim about cuts to nearly $500 million in federal research funding.
Our main sources are her really poignant essay in The New Yorker, which is called A Battle with My Blood, and then the medical and policy analysis around it.
So let's start with the facts of her medical condition because they are just devastating.
Tatiana Schlossberg is only 35 years old.
35?
She's an environmental journalist, daughter of Caroline Kennedy, and she's a mom to two very young children.
A 3-year-old son and a 1-year-old daughter. And the abruptness of this discovery it's truly staggering.
It really is.
The illness was found in May of 2024, just weeks after she gave birth to her second child.
And it was found during routine blood work, right, after the delivery.
Yeah, and the initial numbers were, they were alarming beyond belief.
Can you just go over those numbers again?
Yeah.
Because they really set the stage for the catastrophe that's unfolding.
Sure. So a normal white blood cell count, it typically runs between, say, 4,000 and 11,000 cells per microliter.
Okay, 4 to 11,000.
Schlossberg's initial reading was 131,000. That kind of explosive growth. It's called leukocytosis. It immediately told them they were dealing with a very severe blood cancer.
Which was quickly confirmed to be acute myeloid leukemia, AML.
Right. And what's so confounding, and she writes about this, is that she seemed to be in perfect health.
Yeah, she swam a mile the day before she gave birth.
A mile. And she was a runner. She'd even previously swum 3 miles across the Hudson River.
For a fundraiser, wasn't it?
It was. For the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, of all things, the irony is just heartbreaking.
It is.
But this is where the medical complexity just goes off the charts. AML usually affects older people. The average age is around 69.
Okay.
But Schlossberg had a rare and extremely aggressive variant. It's known as Inversion 3, or NV3 AML.
And what is that genetic mutation? What does that actually mean for her prognosis?
It means the cancer is highly resistant to chemotherapy.
Oh.
In V3, AML is only about 1 to 2% of all AML cases, and it's driven by this overexpressed gene, EVI1.
And that gene is what makes it so hard to treat.
Exactly. It makes the cancer just incredibly poor at responding to standard treatments. The sources we looked at, they note the median overall survival for this type of AML is just around 10 months from diagnosis.
10 months. For a 35-year-old new mother.
It's essentially the hardest diagnosis you could possibly receive.
And that context makes the treatment journey she went on sound even more, heroic and just desperate.
It was relentless. She started months of intensive chemotherapy right away.
And because it was so high risk, they had to go for the big guns, so to speak.
The definitive but very risky cure attempt. Stem cell transplants. Her first one was from her older sister, Rose Schlossberg.
The family making that kind of personal sacrifice.
Yeah.
Giving a piece of your own body to try and save your sister's life.
It just underscores the human cost right there. And it worked for a time. She went into remission.
But the disease came back.
It did. Her doctors warned her it was persistent. She relapsed, which meant more aggressive measures.
A second transplant.
A second one, yes, from an unrelated donor. And then she moved on to clinical trials. Cutting-edge therapies.
So when you say cutting-edge therapies like CAR T-cell therapy, for someone listening, what are we actually talking about here?
That is a great question, because these experimental trials, this is the core of her political critique later on.
Right.
So CAR T-cell therapy. It stands for chimeric antigen receptor T-cell therapy. It's a type of immunotherapy.
Yeah.
Doctors basically take the patient's own T cells, which are the immune system's soldiers. They engineer them in a lab to specifically recognize and attack the cancer cells, and then they infuse them back into the patient.
So you're weaponizing your own immune system.
Precisely. For a lot of cancers, it offers hope when chemo fails. But even with all of that, the prognosis was still terminal.
And that's when her doctor told her the brutal truth.
Yes. During a discussion about her latest trial, he told her he could keep her alive for a year, maybe?
A year, maybe. And that brings us to the political part of this.
The indictment.
Schlossberg used her last major public communication to pivot from this personal memoir to a policy statement, and the timing was significant.
Incredibly intentional. She published it on the 62nd anniversary of her grandfather's assassination. She used her own desperation.
Her own ticking clock.
Yes, her knowledge that her only hope was in scientific advancement to directly challenge her cousin, who is the top public health official in the country.
Let's break down that core accusation because the numbers she uses are very specific.
She draws a direct line from her fight for a cure to the financial decisions being made in Washington. She wrote, and I'm quoting here, "As I spent more and more of my life under the care of doctors, nurses, and researchers, I watched as Bobby cut nearly $500 million for research into mRNA vaccines, technology that could be used against certain cancers."
Nearly $500 million. So this is where we need to stop and ask the analytical question, is it? Is it really fair to draw such a direct line between budget cuts made by a cabinet secretary and the treatment options for one person with an extremely rare cancer?
And that is the absolute crux of the political charge, and we have to be impartial here.
Right.
Her essay frames it through the lens of a patient who needs innovation to survive. She's arguing that any slowing of research progress directly hurts the chances of finding a cure for the most desperate cases, like hers.
So it's not that that specific money would have cured her today.
Exactly. Her point is that the withdrawal of federal support creates a climate of uncertainty. It slows down the development of the very trials that were her only hope for the future.
And she didn't just stop at that one cut, did she?
No, she broadened the critique. She accused RFK Jr. of slashing billions in funding from the National Institutes of Health.
The NIH.
The NIH, which is the world's largest sponsor of medical research. It funds basically every major biomedical breakthrough. She also pointed out that he threatened to get rid of the panel that recommends preventive cancer screenings.
So when you're talking about HHS and the NIH, I mean, you're talking about the massive engine that drives American biomedical research. Cutting billions from that suggests a huge shift away from evidence-based science.
That's her argument, and she internalized it. She wrote about the healthcare system feeling strained, shaky.
She mentioned her own doctors, right, at Columbia.
She did. She said even they were worried about their research funding because of these alleged federal withdrawals. She turned an abstract budget debate into a very emotional, tangible threat.
And moving on from the policy, this essay is really the most dramatic moment in what's been a long, simmering family feud.
It has. This unified opposition from JFK's immediate family against RFK Jr. on public health.
Yeah.
It runs very deep.
It's critical context. The Kennedy legacy is so tied to science, to public service.
And they see his tenure at HHS as a complete betrayal of that.
His mother, Caroline Kennedy, was openly hostile to his confirmation. She didn't hold back at all.
No, she called him a predator who was addicted to power and urged senators to reject him. She said he was dishonoring the family name.
The word betrayal really is the central theme here, isn't it?
It is. For JFK's descendants, they're watching one of their own, in their view, actively undermine the very institutions their family championed.
And her essay just immediately rallied her siblings. Her younger brother, Jack Schlossberg. He's just announced a run for Congress in New York.
That's right. And he reposted her essay with the message, "Life is short, let it rip."
Which is such a powerful dual message.
It is. It's grief, it's solidarity, but it's also, immediate fuel for his political campaign, a clear stand.
So this personal family tragedy is now completely tied to a congressional race. And of course, we have to mention her sister, Rose, again, the first stem cell donor.
The immediate family has literally put their own bodies on the line for her.
But the mobilization is total. But let's go back to the science, because that's what Schlossberg herself highlighted. Why is this research funding so vital for her?
Well, for cancers like hers, the NV3 AML, we established it's chemo-resistant.
Right.
Standard therapy just doesn't work long-term. Her survival depends completely on scientific acceleration. When she targets mRNA research, it's because that technology is evolving so fast.
So this isn't just about COVID-19 vaccines anymore.
Oh, not at all. The technology is incredibly flexible. Researchers are now exploring custom therapeutic mRNA cancer vaccines
To do what?
to train your own body's immune system to recognize and attack specific tumor markers, like the
Yeah.
ones from that aggressive EVI1 gene in her leukemia.
So the future of targeted cancer therapy really relies on funding this exact kind of research.
It does. She was in CAR-RT trials, which are already incredibly innovative.
And even that wasn't enough.
Exactly, which just shows how critical these next-generation breakthroughs are. Her options narrowed to trials that are just one step away from the research lab.
So when that funding gets cut,
It directly impacts the ability of researchers to launch those early-phase trials. It can delay the very therapy that might be the cure.
she basically used her essay to show that federal funding decisions aren't just abstract line items on a budget.
No, they are, for some people, the determinants of life or death.
That's a staggering realization.
Yeah.
She laid bare the highest stakes you can imagine in a policy dispute.
And what's so powerful is that the urgency of her story forces you, the listener, to confront why we have to fund this kind of unproven cutting-edge science. For rare diseases, the only way forward is through that research pipeline.
Which is fueled by federal investment.
That's right.
The emotional weight of it all is just immense. She wrote so honestly about the personal cost, her fear that her kids won't remember her.
Feeling cheated and so sad that her life with her husband is being cut short. It's the ultimate statement of vulnerability and political courage.
She knew her voice, as a member of that family, could turn her private tragedy into a national conversation.
And maybe benefit other patients down the line.
So, this deep dive has explored the tragic personal battle of Tatiana Schlossberg, the rare medical challenges she faced, and the public policy stand she took against her own cousin, RFK Jr. This conflict. It really underscores the vital nature of federal research funding for patients who have run out of options.
It truly does.
And that leaves a final thought for you to consider. Knowing that political decisions about research budgets can directly influence the survival prospects of patients who rely on scientific